Hello, how you doing, guys? I wanted to share my positive birth story with you all. I wanted to share this wonderful experience I just went through. And if you're new here, my name is Foreign Jewel. I make beauty and lifestyle content, and I'm starting to throw in some pregnancy and birth related things in between. So stay tuned for new videos. But we're about to get into my positive birth plan. Keep saying my positive birth plan, but it was a positive birth plan, and it kind of went through exactly how I panned it out in my head. So anyway, so let's go into the whole labor and how I didn't know that I was actually in labor. So 2 days before I delivered my baby, I was just trying to spruce up the house. I was really in nesting mode. I was just getting everything together. I already had the nursery put up. I was folding clothes. I was doing laundry. And this particular day, I was putting up the Christmas tree, and I was like separating and putting the bulbs together. So I was like sitting on the couch, and then I just felt like a gush of fluid just run down. And I'm like, yo, I'm peeing on myself. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe that's my water breaking. So I was kind of just monitoring myself for like the rest of the evening, but nothing happened. So I didn't have like any contractions or none of that. So I didn't really think anything of it. So that was like November 7th. So November 8th, I'm still doing regular stuff. I'm not feeling any sort of contractions or anything. I go through the whole day, and then at nighttime, we had our dinner and everything. We went to bed. I do want to note that I had chicken tikka masala, which was a tad bit spicy. So I think it started like it got things going, so to speak. So that night, I had the chicken tikka masala. I was in bed by 9 p.m., me and my fiance, and I just couldn't sleep. And this was not not normal or whatever. Like, I haven't been able to sleep the entire pregnancy. I've been having terrible insomnia. As soon as I get into the bed, I just lay there and I can't relax enough to close my eyes. And by the time I relax to close my eyes, I'm hungry. So I'm waking up 4 a.m., whatever. But this particular night, I wasn't really that hungry, but I started feeling back pain. And that was a new symptom for me. So I'm like, yo, I'm feeling all this back pain, but it wasn't to the point where I wanted to go to the hospital or anything. And my fiance was asleep next to me, so I didn't wake him up because I wasn't sure if I was starting on my labor. So I'm laying there, and then the back pain is starting to come in waves. I'm like, okay, but the waves are inconsistent. So it's like 15 minutes apart, somewhere 20 minutes apart. So I thought that I could just go grab a bottle of water, switch positions, and just try to get through it and sleep. So it was like 11:30 p.m. and I'm like, okay, so they are starting to get 10 minutes apart and a little bit more painful. So I wake up my fiance. I'm like, all right, these things are getting more painful, but I still not sure if I'm in labor because I'm not in excruciating pain to the point where I can't talk. So they said if you can't talk and you can't go through the contractions and you can't speak or whatever, and it's that painful, then it's really labor and it's time to get to the hospital. But I didn't feel any of these things. So he's like, should I call off of work? And I'm like, I don't know if you should. And he said, did you call your doctor? And I'm like, I didn't call my doctor because I don't want to be in false labor and things are not really going as they are. So he made the executive decision that he was just gonna call off just in case. And bumped you. I bumped you, Poppy. So yeah, so he made the executive decision to call off work. And by this time, it was like 12:30 a.m. and the contractions have gotten to 5 minutes. But then I lost track really counting them. So I downloaded a period tracker app. I already had one on my phone, but this tracker app also had a contraction tracker app built within it. So I put a little timer on and I was timing it like that. And I'm like, all right, so they're getting super close. And luckily, I already had both of our bags packed for the hospital. So I had my bag, I had the baby's bag, and I had his bag. So he's been putting stuff in his bag already, so all ready to go. My birth plan was already in the bag. I was very adamant on making sure it was in there because I was very, very like to the T what I wanted as far as birth goes. So I was like, you know what? All these contractions and everything are making me sweaty. So I decided that I wanted to hop in the shower and just kind of like freshen up before I went to the hospital. So as soon as I got into the shower, turned the water on, got in, and I really couldn't make it through the shower. I was feeling like so much pain and I just couldn't do it. So I hopped out, I put on my clothes, I tried to like fix myself up the best I could, and I was like, you know what, we are going to the hospital. So we got our car seat. It was already like, the base was already strapped in there, but we put the actual like car seat chair in there and got our bags and we made it to the hospital. So we got...
That's right here.
What?
You can park over here.
Yeah, you can park over here. Oh God, we got at the hospital, y'all. Didn't sleep all night. I tried to sleep through all these. This guy right here is amazing. Anyway, contractions are between 5 minutes, 6 minutes, or 10 minutes apart. And they hurt like hell. And we about to go in. I don't know how much recording I'm gonna do, but we gotta check if my cervix is dilated. Oh man, here's another one. Okay. I can do it. I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. The hospital. So when we got to the hospital, you know, they're asking you all these intake questions and everything, and my contractions was getting even stronger. And it was to the point where like I really couldn't say anything. So I knew like it was definitely time. So when we got back there to the triage part, they took my blood pressure and my blood pressure was like 150 something and the top number. So yeah, it was just elevated and I was just like going through it, but at the same time, like everything was still manageable. And after the contractions, I was still able to like talk and I wasn't screaming or anything. And I was just keeping in mind that like everything's gonna be okay, and at the end of this I'm going to see my baby. So that's what I kept saying in my head, like I'm gonna see my baby. So all of these contractions and everything, it's all because he's about to come. So I'm just going to be calm. So that's what kept me being calm this whole time. So I am laying down and they got me on the monitors. And in my birth plan, I said that I wanted minimal monitors. So I allowed it in triage just for them to check if everything's okay. So that was like the first hour or so I was being monitored. I was having my blood pressure continuously checked. The baby's heart rate was being continuously checked. And the whole time I'm going through these contractions. And my fiance's there and he's trying to calm me down. And he's like being like very supportive. Because another thing I wanted was a doula. In my hospital, they do provide you with like temporary doula. But it's more like college students or nursing students who want credits, and I really didn't want just anybody I didn't know being a supportive person for me. So it was just me and my fiance, my family. They live in another state, so it was all right. I made sure I told my mom, and I told my siblings that I was going to go to the hospital so that they were in support from a distance. And also with the whole COVID thing, like it's only a certain amount of people that you could have in the labor and delivery room. So it was just me and my fiance. And if you wanted to have like your own doula, you could. But we didn't have that, so we didn't have to worry about that. So my nurse comes in, she checks my cervix, or she tries to check my cervix, but she couldn't because the poor thing's fingers was a little too fat. So she couldn't check it. And then someone else came and they were having trouble. So lastly, the doctor showed up and she said that I was 4 centimeters dilated. And I was like, oh my God, already? So had I was still in denial about whether I was in labor or not, I probably would have had my baby in the living room. To be honest. Itchy nose. Bless you, Poppy. Bless you. All right, so he's okay. So anyway, yeah, I was really shocked that I was already at 4 centimeters because I'm thinking it's my first baby. So labor is going to go very slow for me, but I thought wrong. Everything I thought I knew about labor, it just completely went out of the window. And I was just going through the motions at this point. And I guess everything I thought that I prepared myself for, I just didn't prepare for it being so fast. I was just on the idea that labor is going to take some time for me. And for the progressions, it's just crazy how we progressed. So anyway, the doctor checked me. She said, oh yeah, you were 4 centimeters. I'm like, oh my God, 4 centimeters. And she said, do you want an epidural? With a stone face. And I'm like, no, I don't want an epidural. I wanted a unmedicated birth. So that was my birth plan. Unmedicated, low intervention, little to no monitoring, because I learned that you don't really have to continuously monitor. If your baby is healthy and you're fine, you don't have to be monitored. You can choose to put in your birth plan not to be monitored, or you can put intermittent or something monitoring, where it's monitoring here and there. And I also didn't want repeated cervical checks. So I got my cervix checked only 3 times, and I allowed 3 times, but after that I refused the rest of the cervical checks. So hey, so after the whole I'm gonna pick him up. I'm gonna pick my poppy up. I'm gonna pick my poppy up. So after the whole asking me, do I want an epidural? And I'm saying no. My nurse comes back in and she said, like, hey, I know you want like very minimal anything. So do you want to walk around for 2 hours and see what happens? So after 2 hours, I was like, I don't know. Like 2 hours seems like a long time. But anyway, me and my fiance, we were able to like put my clothes back on because I didn't have to wear the hospital gown, she said. And she said, whenever you feel comfortable, like you could go eat and everything, come back and we'll check you. I said, okay. So we got out and it was not even 20 minutes and I was already like going through it in the hallway, but I was determined to keep on. And I was walking and he was right beside me asking me if I was okay. And I just kept thinking about how hungry I was. And so we got to the vending machines because the rest of the hospital, like cafeteria and everything, was closed. So I got a honey bun and some chips. So I was able to eat the honey bun with my fiance's assistance. He was feeding me while I was like managing my contractions. So one thing about managing my contractions, I did not want any sort of medication. So I just opted to just do my deep breathing, be mindful, just like swaying back and forth. I use the yoga ball. They also offer like the peanut shaped yoga ball, but I just got like a regular yoga ball. And I just like swayed back and forth and I just like through the contractions. And I was doing that for a minute and we're still walking and we get like further and further away from the triage. And my fiance was still like beside me, just like massaging my back and everything. He was just being really supportive. And it was great because I really didn't tell him the role of like how supportive I wanted him to be throughout this whole process, but he just knew. So that was just made everything like more comforting. So we got back to like the main entrance of where triage was supposed to be, and I just dropped down on all fours and I started screaming so loud because I felt like the strongest contraction yet. And I was like, oh my God, I just couldn't hold myself up. And I got all the way to on all fours. And my fiance was like, I don't want you to be on the dirty floor. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like, I need to be on the dirty floor right now because it hurts. It hurts. I kept remembering, like, it hurt. So he was like, are you ready to go back now? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So mind you, we only been gone for like, 30, 40 minutes at this point. And the nurses at triage asked me like, why are you back so soon and everything? You have 2 hours. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it 2 hours. I felt like the strongest contraction yet. Like, please, can I go back to my room? So they were like, oh, the room is being cleaned and yada yada. I'm like, I want to go back to my room. I kept saying that. So they got me back into the room. I got back into the hospital gown. They checked me again. They were like, oh my gosh, she is 6 centimeters dilated. Get her up to labor and delivery right now. So they got me back on the stretcher. And the only comfortable way I could be on the stretcher was on all fours. And just laying down and just being stagnant and not being able to move my hips, that just hurt too much. So just being on that all fours position, it kind of just, I don't know what it did for me. It just really helped the whole process. So they like rode with me like that on a stretcher through the hallways. And then labor and delivery is like on the 3rd or 4th floor of the hospital. So rode on the elevator like that, did not care, did not give 2 F words. I'm trying not to cuss because, yeah, I'm trying to have a good behavior for him. So anyway, I didn't give 2 Fs. And I was just like, you know what? Whatever. If my butt is in the air and y'all can see something, oh well, because I'm about to give birth and I don't really care about being modest right now. So we get up there and my midwife, she's there. She's like, Brina, why didn't you call me? I'm like, I didn't call you because I didn't want to be like in false labor and I get told to go home. I was like, I was in denial. I didn't think I would be in labor because my actual due date was November 25th and he came November 9th. So I was just like not prepared. I'm thinking because my due date was November 25th, that I would have had him closer to that date or possibly even December, because I'm thinking like, oh, I'm not going to, deliver in time. It's probably going to make it to 40 weeks. I did not make it to 40 weeks. I had him at 37 weeks. So we're there and she's like, look, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. My nurse from triage, she came up and it wasn't even her floor to work on. She just was still on the clock and she decided to like let her boss know that she was coming up with me, which I love her so much. Her name is Stephanie. I love Nurse Stephanie. She was the best. She fed me ice chips. She just was just very, 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 very on it. Like she was on her job. She knew exactly what I needed. And she got it was to the point she anticipated my wants and my needs before I could even like physically open my mouth and say what I needed. Like she got me a cold compress for my head. She wiped my sweat away. Like, I don't know like how and why I was blessed with somebody so dope like that, but she was extremely dope and I think about her often. And when I go back to the hospital, because I plan to just visit, I will definitely hook her up. Like, she's my girl. And my doctor, shout out to my doctor, she's also my girl. But anyway, let's get back to the story. I'm just like going off on a tangent. So she was really like super making me comfortable. My fiance, he was also like making me comfortable. And I thought he was going to be like squeamish and everything. So I expected him to be like by my head the whole time. So he wasn't by my head. He was actually like massaging my hips and everything. And I remember the sensation of like, yo, I really need to poop. So I kept saying that. I'm like, I really feel a strong urge to poop right now. Like, what is that? So my doctor was like, yeah, I call my doctor, my midwife, my doctor, because she is a doctor. She is a nurse practitioner. Oh, babe. What's up, baby? All right, he wants to be up higher. So anyway, so I call her my doctor because she is my doctor. And she was like, yeah, like if you feel like you need to poop, that's a part of the process. So she said, if you feel like pushing now, like let's see what's going on. So she was like, can I check you? I said, you know what, go ahead, go on and check me. And plus she's a doctor of color. That's what I wanted. So she checked me. And she said, okay, you look like you're fully dilated now, but however, your water is not broken. So what do you want me to do? Do you want to break your water? Because like things are going to move fast once we do that. Or do you want to just keep going through the entire labor process like that? At this point, I was feeling like so much in pain that I was like, you know what? Go on and break my waters because I'm done. So she broke my water and lied to you not, like I just felt everything. I felt his head about to come out. I just felt it. And my fiance, he was back there and I just kind of like heard him putting on gloves and my doctor was directing my fiance on pulling, like bringing the baby out into the world. So he delivered the baby and it was just amazing. Like I felt the whole ring of fire, how they say, where it's just like excruciating pain and whatnot. And I just remember letting out this very unearthly scream. Like, the best way I could describe it is She-Hulk, pterodactyl. Like, I was screaming to the top of my lungs, and I know people heard me out in the hallway and everything, but I just, at that point, I was just so into like what I was doing, and I just was thinking like, you know what, I just want to see my baby. I just want to see my baby. So he came out in like 6 pushes, and it took 20 minutes for him to come out, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. After that, delivered the placenta. And the one part about it that was scary for me was I didn't know that after delivering a baby, you can have like very terrible tremors. So I was trembling a lot, and my baby was also trembling a lot. So I was getting very nervous. I didn't know what that was. I thought my blood pressure or whatever was dropping. So I was still being continuously monitored. So my blood pressure, it wasn't dropping. It was just, from my understanding and what the doctor said, was my hormones were just like going crazy and causing the tremors. Oh, look at him. Oh. Look at him. Go ahead, go to your grandma. Oh. Yeah, he's very peaceful.
Yeah.
He only cries when he's bothered. So we were both safe. Thank God. He came out 5 pounds 10 ounces, and he had a couple more monitoring to go through. He was having like very rapid breathing. What happened? What happened, Poppy? So he was having very crazy tremors, but they were like saying that he was okay. So like NICU nurse came up, and his doctor, well, the pediatric doctors that they have on duty at the hospital, they came up to check him, and they said that he was doing just fine. So we were able to go up to the postpartum unit, where we got some more help. We got some lactation specialist help. We got some rest. But you know, the whole thing just adjusting to him and everything. He was not this big. My baby is a big boy now. He's 2 months old. His name is Johnny. He's so cute, and he's the apple of my little eye. But yeah, so the whole experience was super positive. I think if I could change things again, if I have another child and I can afford it, because, you know, it's expensive, I would have my baby at home. I would seriously have my baby at home, because I feel like I could do it. And I didn't use any sort of pain meds and anything. I did want to get like IV fluids, but in the midst of me going through my contractions and everything, I broke all the IVs that they put in my hand. So yeah, I know I can do it out. Yeah, so stay tuned for more things like that, like more stories and everything. Like, I am really settling into motherhood at this point. I'm really starting to get the hang of things. I by no means am I a professional. Like, I don't know anything for real. I'm just sharing my life as it's happening, and, you know, just enjoying being a boy mom at this point. So if you like my story, and if you want to just hang with me and come to this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really, truly helps me out and everything. And I'll catch you in my next one. Bye. Oh, you want to say bye? Bye, Poppy.